You're gonna have to shut up because it started.
Go shit.
Coming to you live from deep within an icy... Wait, not icy. It's actually spring now. It's almost June, and it's finally spring.
It's Kofifi.
But it's also... It's windy and muddy, but also sometimes sunny. Radioactive meme land. We are the survivors of the alt-right kek-apocalypse. The few, the brave, the bitchy. I just want to note that I finally got through the word kek-apocalypse.
Yeah, I did. I noticed that you didn't stumble this time.
And then I stumbled. Once more waiting to battle against the froggy hordes with Rantzerker teal deer style number 85.
Rational resistance to feminism is futile.
If you're listening to this after the live show and you want to hear the full stream, go to www.honeybadgerradio.com for our unabridged podcasts, or look up to the right of this video. There's a link to go directly to the unabridged version on YouTube.
Exploring Student Resistance to Feminist Approaches in a Canadian University by Michelle Weber, Department of Sociology, Brock University. There's an address here. I don't think I should dox anyone. Oh, God. Synopsis. This paper explores student resistance to feminist course content in social science courses cross-listed with women's studies as an example of social reproduction at work. Drawing on both interviews and anonymous student course evaluations, the student resistance to feminism is examined from the layered perspectives of faculty, teaching assistants, and students in these courses. The author argues that a regime of rationality still operates in the academy and is made evident when feminist course content is met with continual dismissal or disavowal. This paper...
So rationality still exists. And are you going to try and argue that this is a problem? Rationality still operates in academia, and that's clear that people are resisting feminism because they're being rational? I fail to see the problem.
Logic is the enemy.
What is their proposal? Lobotomies.
Let's find out.
Lobotomies for equality.
We're going to genetically engineer embryo before they're born, so that when you are, you have everything you need.
You don't reason.
Yeah, I think they missed a little bit of a trick with this synopsis here, because they're talking about social reproduction of knowledge. Guys, that's mimetics.
Mm-hmm.
Spreading of ideas. I think there's some secret shit going on here under the covers.
I see what they're trying to do now.
The punishment must be more severe.
Explores how faculty utilize feminist perspectives in social science courses that are cross-listed with women's studies in one Canadian university and the phenomenon of student resistance to such content. This research contributes to the understanding of the kind of knowledges that students understand to be legitimate knowledge or real knowledge. The data point to a tension between students' notions of an imagined ideal professor and the actuality of feminist faculty as knowledgeable.
What?
These are...
Stop academia shaming people. There is no ideal professor.
One would assume the ideal professor isn't a raving lunatic and actually has a firm grasp of their subject matter and the ability to logic and reason within it. I'm guessing if the feminists are failing to embody that ideal... I don't even know why that you would consider that an ideal... Like, is an ideal mechanic someone who can actually fix your car? No, that's just an average mechanic. So feminist faculty isn't even embodying the characteristics of an average professor. I don't know, I find that funny. Okay.
You're a professor. You literally only have one job.
And you cannot do it.
Yeah.
Well, if you're a feminist, that is.
Through the operation of this regime of rationality, masculine consciousness in the scholarly world is assured. Smith, in 1992.
What is this assumption that reason and logic is just a male thing? I would have thought it was more like a human thing.
Because patriarchy, and you've been brainwashed to think that because men have had all of the power throughout all of history, don't you know?
I think it's because reason and logic does not does not reel with feminism. Like, these things don't coexist. This is why you can't be a skeptic feminist. Because those things don't go together. They don't. And I think that what's happening is that feminism's not working. Social sciences are heavily biased. I'm not saying they're completely useless, but in their current state, it's fucking toxic. And the only way to validate it is to say, okay, so the problem isn't our ideological religion that we call social science and feminism and essentially academic activism. It's logic. Logic is flawed. We have to go after that because it doesn't support our belief system. It's basically what it is. It's like it's basically religion, and religion doesn't work well with or certain kinds of religion. I'll put it that way. Don't work really well with logic. So logic must be the problem.
As Adrienne Rich, 1979, points out in her classic piece, Toward a Woman-Centered University, women are made to feel that the real curriculum is the male-centered one.
Okay. Let's... women are made to feel that the curriculum is a male-centered one. Feminism is doing that to women. It has to be. It's the only thing that so feminism is essentially making women uncomfortable in university by its narrative. That's all it can be. I don't know what else there is to that.
Yeah,
so.
There is no reason for anyone to feel uncomfortable going to a university, like, ever.
Yeah.
So if you're feeling that there's going to be a reason for it, and it's probably the fact that you're being told all of this sort of shit, that what you're learning is, a masculinized environment, and it's all manly, and the whole world is against you, really.
Mike in the chat says, "What the fuck does made to feel mean?" This is just it. That's what we're saying. Like, first you have somebody who may not have developed their opinion on this particular topic yet, and then feminists come in and they basically tell them, this is how you should feel, and here are the reasons why we think you should feel this way. And then in some cases they will be made to feel threatened, afraid, insecure, insufficient, whatever the negative thing is. And then feminism gets to point at it and say, look at what men's logic and presence in university is doing to women. You terrible, terrible men, look what you did. And we knew that you were up to this the whole time. I think that's basically what it is. Being made to feel something is a form of rape.
The university is above all a hierarchy, Rich suggests. That there exist two areas of women's needs that need to be fulfilled in order to change the nature of universities. The first concerns educational content and pedagogy, and the second concerns institutional barriers to women's full or partial participation in higher education.
Okay, hold on. So the problem is this person making the argument that the fact that university is a hierarchy is a problem in and of itself? I think
that was the quote. That was the women aren't catered to because women's studies are made to feel like they're a fad and they're not something important, which, well, they're not. So that opinion is actually completely correct. And I don't really understand why they put the university as a hierarchy, because it's like they've got that thing. It's like, oh, people don't take women's studies seriously. They think the teachers aren't anything serious. And then university is a hierarchy. It's like, okay, the hierarchy bit isn't actually necessarily related to the previous bit.
University is a hierarchy. And gender studies is...
It kind of must be as well.
Yeah, it has to be. And gender studies is a joke. I mean...
Can I point something out?
Yes.
Now that I'm relatively water-free.
Water.
She started this whole thing by saying that professors or feminist academic professors don't resemble the student's ideal professor. Now, in the university hierarchy, of course, the student is on the bottom. So she starts out at a critique of students having an opinion about what their ideal professor is. And then she complains about the university being a hierarchy. If she got her way, students wouldn't be allowed to say that feminist professors do not embody what they consider to be a standard of professorship. So she would essentially make it even more hierarchical. And I'm pretty sure that what she wants feminist professors to be on the top of that hierarchy and not having any critique by their students, is not embodying the standard that they expect from a professor. So it's really interesting how she manages to be elitist. She manages to disparage the lowest rank on the hierarchical ladder and their opinion, and say that it's illegitimate, and say that she's questioning the hierarchy. I don't think you're questioning the hierarchy. I think you want the hierarchy. And I think you want to silence students' opinions of feminist professors, and you just want the feminist professors on the top of that hierarchy.
I do have one further thing.
Okay.
They say that there's like two problems here, and I think these are just sort of worth putting up because it's kind of bullet pointed what they're going to be talking about. So the first is the educational content and the pedagogy. So that's just what people are being taught and the method by which they're being taught. So apparently that's a problem for women. I mean, let's ignore those, millions of women who have graduated from university doing things like STEM and have had absolutely no problems taking on board any of that information and then having successful careers at the end of it. We'll ignore them because they're awkward. And the institutional barriers that women apparently face that stops them from fully or even partially participating in higher education, like all of those grants that they get, all of those bursaries and whatnot, and all of those affirmative action programs, even though women are the majority of people graduating from universities. Those are the two problems that this author wants to deal with. So it really does seem to be courses are wrong and the way you're doing it is wrong. Everything must be done through the lens of feminism. I'm guessing that's where they're going with it.
Also, students have no right to consider that professors should be held to an ideal.
Yes, you have no right to have any sort of standard that your professor should possibly be held to. They should be allowed to be as incompetent as they choose. I am intrigued. Have you read this through and can give us like a paragraph quickly? I'm guessing it was done via interviews. Oh yeah, there we go. Semi-structured interviews with 22 participants, 21 women and 1 man, 8 faculty, 5 teaching assistants, and 9 students.
My sample size.
Interviewed them for their opinions.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This is going to be very representative of everyone's experience throughout everything.
These are like the 22, I guess.
Yeah, because, we totally expect all of these people's point of view to be completely representative because we expect them to be, normal within the student and teaching body. Yeah, there's no way in hell you're basically just going to be interviewing, I don't know, all of the feminist faculty, all of the women's studies students and things like that, so you're going to get a very particular thing. This is the thing, it's like, even if it's a small sample size, that doesn't actually necessarily matter if you expect that small sample to still be typical of a population, but this isn't going to be.
No,
this is not even, that's not even one classroom's worth of people.
No, it's like maybe a 10th. Okay, so this is a good paragraph. I used a snowball method of recruiting students. I need to do this in a voice. I used a snowball method of recruiting participants, beginning with the student with whom I was acquainted. Oh, what does acquainted mean? Oh. And while this provided a reliable method of recruitment, I failed to secure the participation of non-feminist friendly students. The feminist-friendly student with whom I started the snowball process provided the name of another feminist-friendly student, and the process continued from there. The snowball method did not yield any students who were not feminist friends. Thus, this article lacks an important standpoint. I got help writing this. I talked to all of my friends, all of those people who already
pretty much agree with me on most things, because that's why we're friends, and now we're going to...
How the
hey
fuck
guys, do you remember the CMNI and how scientific that was? Let's do it again!
How is this shit published? How does this not just get there? Just like they go to the peer review and the head professor just takes it and wipes his ass with it and then gives it back. Like, how does this happen? Anyway, thus this article lacks an important standpoint. I'm relying on discussing student resistance from the perspectives of faculty members and teaching assistants who experience resistance in their classes and students who do not resist feminist approaches, yet witness resistance in their own classes.
So you're going to judge what you think and assume other people are doing. Cool.
Yes.
I can't see this being in any way biased or unreliable whatsoever.
Oh, God. So she's going to talk about feminist resistance, not even the experience of feminist resistance, without ever consulting people who resist feminism.
Yep.
And this doesn't create a hierarchy.
I think a lot of people label themselves feminists, to be honest, because it's like a warm blanket. It just feels feels good.
That. Why is it such a fucking warm blanket for people? Like, why does the word feminism? I feel like I'm nestling back into a womb. Feminism.
Because of that word that we can't name, which is why we can't talk about that word.
What, gynocentrism?
Yeah, that's why. Because I'm a male feminist, don't you know? That means I care about the women.
Like no other man cares. Like not every single man on the fucking planet. I don't care. There are no true extreme women haters. Because any group of men that goes out and says, you know what, I'm just going to rape and kill women, doesn't perpetuate itself to the next generation. It is immediately selected out of the gene pool. This is true about every fucking human being on this planet. You cannot exist as a society, as a cult, as a sect, with the principle that you refuse or you are going to actively go out and hate and harm women. You know why? Because women are instrumental to the perpetuation of every community on this planet. Because they teach the kids who they belong to. Where are these radical cults of misogynists going to get their children from?
As Morley argues, the relationship between gender, language, knowledge, and power further complicates...
Here's the problem. Okay, this is what's happening. These feminist professors are saying, well, all of this stuff is based on my lived experience, or the lived experience of these other people. And then students who are resistant to feminism say, well, if it's based on the lived experience of other people, why is my lived experience not included in that? And my lived experience contradicts what's going on here. And then the feminist professors say, misogynies. In order to accept their lived experience as authoritative, the students have to unaccept their own lived experience as authoritative. And that's they have to recognize this hierarchy of personal being, this unending hierarchy of personal being with the feminist professors and all of their various victim objects on the top over top the students. Like, they don't see this? They don't see what they're demanding of people and why people might resist that? By the way, your lived experience is invalid.
Yeah.
Your emotions, your being, your memories, they're all bullshit.
While the women faculty involved in this project do not need the 50% feminist content rule, it exists to safeguard the women's studies program from supporting non-feminist courses and to ensure that the program's students and majors are indeed taking courses informed by feminists. Nevertheless, there sometimes exists a communication breakdown between the chairs of particular programs and the part-time or non-permanent faculty who are hired to teach courses that are cross-listed with women's studies. The result is that some of the part-time or non-permanent instructors are not trained in feminist theory, but may be sympathetic to feminist content, while other instructors who are hired have no background and no alliance with feminism. This situation.
Holy shit, dude. This is terrifying. This is terrifying. Like, people...
One of us. One of us. One of us.
Oh my god. This is why we need more Jordan Petersons, I guess. Feminism, these women's studies courses and social science courses are basically against the idea of any professor, no matter what they're teaching, they have to be feminists and they have to include it in their work. Otherwise, they're just using pure logic, and we can't do that. We can't have that. And no matter what their courses are, it's not acceptable.
Currently, the program committee of women's studies approves courses on a course-by-course basis in terms of accepting them as cross-listed courses. The initial petitioning faculty member demonstrates to the committee via a proposal of topics and readings that the course will fulfill the 50% feminist content rule. Once the course is initially approved by the program committee, it appears in the course calendar every year as a cross-listed offering, unless the host department requests its removal from cross-listed status. The course appears in the calendar regardless of any change in instructors from year to year. If the committee screened courses by individual instructors, this would preclude courses being cross-listed with women's studies that have no feminist content and a professor who is not trained or familiar with feminist theory. However, to put such a practice into effect requires a time commitment, given the number of non-permanent faculty members teaching cross-listed courses who would yearly require screening by the Women's Studies Program Committee.
Okay, so apparently they want an embargo on feminist content to only come from feminist-approved professors.
Of course.
Of course!
So everyone, if you want to join us in the after show, www.patreon.com/honeybadgerradio, and we shall adjourn to there.
All right.
Post width and such.
Well, you can hit the button, Allison. I don't have to do it.
Oh, that's right. I hit the button at the beginning. That's why it was so fucked up.
Yeah, hit the Kofefe.
Okay, Kofefe out.